Hi, a huge welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Today we are going to be looking at royal icing. It's so easy to make. Now I made a very popular video before on this, but people asked me if you can make it without eggs, and it is very simple to do. And it's Halloween again, so it's quite appropriate. I think the last time we did royal icing it was Halloween. And if you stick around towards the end, I'll be giving you some tips on different consistencies for your icing. Now, rather than using egg whites, we're going to use a very simple no egg replacer. These are fantastic for royal icing and they're great for meringues too. If you do want to make this with eggs, the same recipe I'm doing here, just use 1 large egg white. Now the box says 1 teaspoon per 1 egg white. We're not following that. We're going to take 1 teaspoon and a 2nd teaspoon. In with the egg replacer, I want to add 2.5 tablespoons of water. Give that a little mix through and we'll have something that looks a little bit like a runny egg white. Now almost the only other ingredients is pure icing sugar or confectionery sugar. And you can add 2 cups into that, or about 250 grams. Now on the face of it, it looks like it's going to have way too much sugar, but trust me, this is going to come together to a fairly thick royal icing. Now that is starting to come together beautifully. If you find it a little bit too thick, you can take a little spray bottle like this, a couple of little sprays, because you don't need too much water. It can very quickly get too runny. Now you may have heard of 20-second icing. This is a little thicker. 20-second is when you either cut through the icing or make a trace across the top of the icing. Count to 20 and that will settle flat. But I like to start with an icing that's a little bit thicker, and I'll show you why. Some people like to pipe with a Ziploc bag and they just cut the corner off. I tend to prefer these piping bags. They are a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient. I just pull it over a glass like that. I take my icing, which is probably 25-30 second icing, if there is such a name. I can pull the bag up. Now this icing as it is perfect if you're doing a little bit of filigree work around the outside of a cake and you want it to hold its shape. It's also the perfect consistency if you just want to outline a cookie. So if you hold your icing a little bit above the cookie and you want to follow the line round, as I'm doing on this little spatula. So it makes a really nice, perfect and accurate line. And that's the sort of icing you'd use if you were going to flood the center of a cookie. I don't know why you would be flooding the center of a spatula. Another wonderful thing about this egg-free royal icing, if you store it in a Kilner or a mason jar or even a Ziploc bag, you get your air out nice and tight. This stores for ages. It doesn't go off. You can actually even store it out the fridge. So far I've only tried 2 or 3 days and it's been perfectly good. Now with the egg-based royal icings, they don't last out of the fridge and they're a little trickier to keep over 2 or 3 days. Now another important thing to remember, if you're coloring your icing, if you use a gel, it won't affect the thickness of the icing too much. I'm going with an orange here for my Halloween colors. If you use a liquid coloring, it will affect the thickness of your icing. I'm just going to mix that orange in there. You can see that's a beautiful vivid orange that you get when you use gel food colorings. Because I'm actually going to use this for flooding, I'm going to make it a little bit thinner. So again, take my little spray bottle, add a few squirts of extra water in there and give it a good mix through. Now this time we've got an icing that is much closer to a 20-second icing. In other words, if we make a pattern on the top of the icing, count to 20, it will flatten down. So let's see how this slightly thinner icing works. This time we're going to use the Ziploc bag. I've just turned it inside out a little bit. We'll pop some of our beautiful orange icing in there. Squeeze most of the air out. Zip it closed and then just nip the tiniest hole off the end of the Ziploc bag. I've got myself a little shop bought cookie here and I'll just show you how we can still use even this slightly runnier icing. We can just run it around the outside of a cookie just to form a little dam. And then you don't have to actually wait until that outside is dried. You can zip backwards and forwards with the icing. Now if I was flooding cookies, I'd make a bigger hole in the end of the bag. Give your cookie a little shake to even out the royal icing. Now, although that makes a perfectly good flooded cookie, if you're doing a little more detail, keep the icing a bit thicker as I showed you with the white and you'll get much more accurate results. But this will set beautifully as it is. Now, whilst we're doing a bit of icing, I've cut the hole a little bit bigger now in the back of that bag, so I can just show you how you would flood backwards and forwards a lot quicker. Now, I'm not using the cookie, I know this is a bit daft, and even though there are some lines in there at the moment, when we give that a little shake, you can see we get a nice even coating. Now if you've got the slightly thinner icing like this is on here, and you decide you want to actually say right on the top of the cookie, so let's just write appropriately for Halloween, sorry it's upside down for you. If you write on top of that wetter icing, the white will actually drop down into the cookie, which can be quite nice if it's what you're looking for. But I tend to prefer to use the slightly thicker icing. So if I want to do any patterns on top, the patterns actually sit on top. Let's just put a little dotted line around the outside of this cookie, just because we can. So there you have it, 2 very simple to make egg-free royal icings. 20-second, a little bit thicker if you're doing detail work. Heaps of fun and very easy to do. Now I hope you're going to join me for the Halloween series that we're doing on Steve's Kitchen, where we're going to be playing with some of these icings. So be good, share the love, share this video with your friends and families, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.